Today, Elon Musk unveiling plans for a humanoid robot that can screw bolts and get groceries. But he didn't give a release date. Beijing passing one of the strictest data protection laws, but experts say it's not to protect users. And one investment guru says retail investors are being left holding the bag for Wall Street's SPAC investment products. Talk to Lance Roberts about it. That and much more, coming up at NTD Business. Good evening. Great to have you with us. I'm Paul Graney. T-Mobile confirming today over 5 million more customers had their data stolen recently. That brings the total number of people affected to more than 53 million. The company says data stolen includes addresses, dates of birth, and phone numbers of customers, but no credit card or other financial information appears to have been stolen. The Federal Communications Commission has opened an investigation into the breach, but some customers are suing the company for damages, saying the cyber attack violated their privacy and exposed them to a higher risk of fraud and identity theft. T-Mobile has had 6 breaches in recent years by some counts. And the Federal Trade Commission is renewing its antitrust fight against Facebook. On Thursday, it added more details to its lawsuit, saying the tech giant has a monopoly and should be broken up. The FTC says Facebook's purchase of up-and-coming rivals Instagram and WhatsApp was illegal, and it wants the court to force Facebook to sell them. The judge ruled against the FTC in June, but gave the agency an opportunity to file an amended complaint. The judge said it didn't provide enough evidence that Facebook actually operates as a monopoly. A Facebook spokesperson says there's nothing of substance in the new complaint and the entire lawsuit is without merit, but it did say it was reviewing the complaint and would have more to say soon. And Elon Musk says he wants to create a robot in human form, calling it the Tesla bot. There's no working prototype yet, but he did get an actor dressed in a suit to dance on stage. NTD's Colin Fredrickson tells us more.
Coming in at 5'8", 125 pounds, with the ability to eliminate repetitive tasks for humans, run 5 miles per hour, carry 45 pounds. Meet the Tesla bot.
If you think about what we're doing right now with the cars, Tesla is arguably the world's biggest robotics company because our cars are like semi-sentient robots on wheels. It kind of makes sense to put that onto a humanoid form.
Elon Musk announced the Tesla bot on AI Day, a day of talks hosted by his company. There is no prototype yet, but Musk did get a guy in a suit to dance wildly on stage. Musk says the robot is designed to eliminate dangerous, repetitive, and boring tasks, and has a screen where the head is for useful information. It's based on the same self-driving technology Tesla uses for its cars.
This, I think, will be quite profound because if you say it like, what is the economy? It is, at the foundation, it is labor. So what happens when there is, no shortage of labor? This is why I think long-term that there will need to be universal basic income.
Musk often announces Tesla is working on a flashy project that'll be released years later, but they often don't happen. Examples include the 1 million robo-taxis that were supposed to be on the road in 2020, currently nowhere to be seen, or the Cybertruck, which is supposed to be on the road by 2021.
Battery swap, that never happened. The Tesla Semi that was introduced in 2017, and he took deposits on, that hasn't happened. The Tesla Roadster, that has not happened.
When an audience member asked,
repetitive, dangerous, and boring tasks tend to not be so highly compensated. And so I just don't see how to reproduce the, start with a supercar and then break into like the lower end of the market. How do you do that for a robot humanoid?
Musk responded,
well, I guess you'll just have to see.
Musk wants the robot to attach bolts to cars using wrenches, as well as get groceries. No word on if he wants it doing backflips like the ones at Boston Dynamics. Colin Fredrickson, NTD News.
And electric vehicle recalls are costing automakers billions of dollars. GM has been hit hard with a double recall of its Chevy Bolt model. NTD's Patrick Hayden reports.
Recalls of electric vehicles are costing the auto industry billions of dollars. Battery fires, loss of power and cars not starting are among the problems faced. CNBC reports that the combined recall costs for GM, Hyundai and Ford are $2.2 billion.
The industry has to worry about some of the recalls that have occurred with electric vehicles, particularly the fire issue. That's something that certainly scares consumers.
GM failed to meet Wall Street's earnings expectations earlier this month, in large part due to an $800 million recall of its Chevrolet Bolt EV. That was following several reported fires. The recall means that Chevy Bolt owners should not charge their cars indoors or overnight. That's to reduce the risk of fire until the recall has been completed. Eisenstein says there is a known risk with the types of batteries the industry uses.
It's one of the reasons why they are coming up with an entirely new chemistry for the next generation of GM products, what they call Ultium batteries. They have sharply reduced the use of cobalt, for example, which should reduce the risk of battery fires.
Reputational damage to manufacturers is causing some potential buyers to hold off stepping into the EV market. EV battery technology is still on a steep learning curve.
And I think that if GM can't solve the issue with the Bolt EV soon, it may really hurt future demand for that model. The question is whether it will also impact sales of the next generation of battery vehicles that GM is going to start bringing to market later this year, the GMC Hummer.
The Biden administration's goal is for EVs to make up half of new car sales by 2030. Patrick Hayden, NTD News.
And a new study claims to show that an antibody therapy from AstraZeneca helps prevent COVID-19. This could make it possible for the British drug maker to offer an alternative to vaccines for people with weakened immune systems. The company says the cocktail was initially discovered by Vanderbilt University Medical Center, and that it reduced the risk of developing symptomatic COVID-19 by 77%. It also says that more than 75% of participants had chronic conditions, including some linked to diminished immune response to vaccination. Wall Street rallied to close sharply higher today after a pretty choppy week. The Dow rose 226 points, about 0.7%. S&P 500 gained 36 points, 0.8%. The Nasdaq added 173 points, about 1.2% today. How would you like to pay your mortgage in Bitcoin? Well, the nation's second largest mortgage lender says it's going to accept it for payments. United Wholesale Mortgage says it's a first for the national mortgage industry and could happen as early as sometime in the third quarter. Besides Bitcoin, it's also considering other digital currencies like Ether. We don't know yet if the lender will hold the crypto or sell it. UWM went public on the New York Stock Exchange in January through a SPAC. And speaking of SPACs, Lance Roberts, the chief strategist at RIA Advisors, tweeting out today that insiders are cashing out their SPAC investments, leaving retail investors holding the bag. Early investors can sell their shares back to the SPAC or redeem them for a set price, and the number of those redemptions has skyrocketed over the past 2 months. Ask Roberts about it.
What a SPAC is, it's a special purpose acquisition company. These are basically publicly traded shells. There's just a shell company, has no business. And what Wall Street does is they say, okay, here's this shell. Let's go find a business, put it inside of this SPAC, and we'll sell it to the public. Well, that's what happened. And these companies that would be put inside of these SPACs were not good companies. They were companies with no revenue, very speculative business models, very much like we saw back in 1999, but there was a demand for it. And so all these retail investors jumped into them, ran them up in price, but as always happens with this type of environments in the markets, they didn't really work out that well. And now the people that put them together, the hedge funds, are taking their profits out and basically just leaving retail investors holding the bag at this point.
So this is this data point that you tweeted out earlier about the redemption rates, right?
Right. Yeah. And this is just hedge funds again, kind of making money. And this is what hedge funds and private equity and then Wall Street does. They see opportunity. And look, I'm not saying anything bad about Wall Street. So this is the game and this is the business they're in. Retail investors have this idea that Wall Street is there for them somehow. You know, UBS used to have this slogan said, UBS, it's you and us. They're not there for you. They're there for them. If you take a look at where their revenue comes from, it's investment banking, it's taking companies public through their services, providing capital and debt for major companies. And if you take a look at a survey, and they take these surveys on a regular basis of Wall Street analysts and Wall Street practitioners, where does the retail investor fall? Are they at the top? Nope, they're at the very bottom of the list. Retail investors are what all these products are built for to sell to. So if somebody from Wall Street comes to you and says, hey, Paul, I got this really great product you should invest your money in, you should immediately say no, because it's probably not in your best interest, it's probably in theirs.
And take these SPACs, for example, is it purely the retail investor that's lost out, or has money from any pension funds or sovereign funds or anything? Does it make its way into these SPACs as well?
Yeah, some of it does, but generally what happens with the SPACs in particular is when the SPACs are put together, they generally raise capital first. So here's this empty shell, and the people doing the SPACs, Bill Ackman or whoever it is, they go out to their group of investors and sell them the SPAC at maybe, say, let's just, for example, $10 a share. And so they say, hey, we're going to do this. So the capital comes in. They then take that capital and go make an acquisition, whatever it is. So they're going to go buy Lucid Motors and they're going to put it inside of the SPAC. So the investors that come in very early, as is always the case with pyramid schemes, the early investors do very well because the SPAC grows to, say, $20 a share. And then it gets to trade and retail investors get a hold of it at that point and they run it up in price. But when it collapses, hedge funds come in and they say, okay, we're going to take our capital out at a profit, mind you, return the capital back to all of their personal investor group, and they leave the retail investors kind of holding the bag for whatever's left.
Lance Roberts, RIA Advisors. And the U.S. Department of Education says it's canceling nearly $6 billion in student debt for more than 300,000 borrowers. The debt forgiveness is going to borrowers who have permanent and total disability. The credit will be automatically applied using information from the Social Security Department, and borrowers would no longer need to provide earnings data to the government after getting the relief. The U.S. government already canceled student debt for thousands of students attending for-profit schools, but advocates are pushing the president to take it a step further and cancel $50,000 in student debt for all borrowers. It's currently under review to see if the president actually has that authority. Borrowers should start seeing the latest relief in September. And China's clampdown on tech companies continues. Beijing just passed one of the world's strictest data protection laws today, but one expert says it's not to protect users. NTD's Evelyn Lee with more.
China just passed a sweeping privacy law that some say is one of the strictest in the world. It reportedly closely resembles the EU's data protection law. It requires permission from users in order to handle their data or provide it to others, among other things. But Arthur Herman, senior fellow at Hudson Institute and director at the Quantum Alliance Initiative, says the law wasn't passed to clear up complaints by internet users.
And I don't think anyone living in China is fooled for a minute that this is about protecting the data of users. Everybody understands that their personal data is completely available to the government and to the police and intelligence services in China.
The Personal Information Protection Law, or PIPL, was passed Friday. The law will take effect November 1st, and Chinese tech stocks continue to plummet. According to Carmen Lucero, a fellow at the Yale Law School Paul Tsai China Center, nothing in the text suggests limits on government surveillance. Herman says quite the opposite is the case. He says the regime is sending a message that ultimately Beijing is in control and that foreign investors can't influence Chinese companies. He thinks the real reason for the new law is to limit foreign companies' access to Chinese data.
Data that they collect and their companies collect from American users, like TikTok, they see that data as perfectly available and perfectly permitted for the government, the Chinese government, to use that data as part of its building a strategic picture about America, about our allies.
Experts say that it's also part of China's ambition to become a tech superpower.
So in the end, this is really another stage in a high-tech war between the U.S. and China.
He adds that this could just be the opening shot. He expects Beijing to extend its control over Chinese companies while becoming bolder in gathering data from other countries, especially now that the Chinese regime sees the U.S. sliding away from global commitments in the light of recent events in Afghanistan. Evelyn Lee, NTD News.
And Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn say they'll be taking steps to secure Afghan citizens' profiles to protect them. It says the Taliban's takeover of the country continues. Human rights groups have voiced concerns that the Taliban could use platforms to track Afghans' digital histories, even their social connections. So for now, Facebook and LinkedIn have disabled people from viewing or searching friends lists in Afghanistan. Facebook also launched a one-click tool for users there to lock down their accounts. This way, people who are not their friends won't be able to see their posts or share their photos. Twitter said it was in touch with civil society partners and was working with the Internet Archive to speed up removal of archived tweets. And a visibly shaken British businessman is praising the German military for getting him out of Afghanistan. He touched down at Frankfurt Airport yesterday after a harrowing couple of days trying to flee Kabul. Emer McCarthy reports.
Describing his tears as the German military helped him escape Kabul, a British businessman touched down at Frankfurt Airport on Thursday after a harrowing couple of days trying to flee Afghanistan.
I'm very thankful to the German Air Force and the German troops. They were doing a tremendous job at the airport, honestly.
The man, who did not wish to give his name for security reasons, fled to the airport along with thousands of others after Kabul fell to the Taliban on Sunday. Filming video on his phone along the way, the Taliban on one side, US troops on the other, and looters marauding through the terminal.
Somebody told me to go towards the north gate of the terminal where the Americans and the German troops are there. It was a chaos even when I arrived there. It took me a good few hours to get myself close to the gate and shout myself out and saying that I'm British, please get me out of there, here. So one of the soldiers just called me. As I said, it was a chaos. They had guns, they were shooting. They had no choice but to, move the crowd from there. So I understand that. Tear gas was firing all around. So one of them just got me inside, and I was in tears, honestly.
The businessman, who had been working in Kabul on and off for 12 years, described the chaos inside the airport.
We were there for a couple of nights without food and water, and a night after that, ordinary people, they started coming into the airport without passports or anything. They looted the airport, the terminal. They broke everything that was in there, the computers, the canteens. And we were scared. We were not allowed to go out because Taliban was there, and on this side it was the American troops. So we were like, what are we going to do? Just stay here.
On Wednesday, he finally got on a flight to Tashkent in Uzbekistan before arriving in Frankfurt on Thursday.
Incredible. Still to come this evening. A major music award show is moving to online streaming only instead of broadcasting live. It's the first major award show to do so. And an ice cream museum opens in Singapore. What's in there and how are people liking it? That and more after this short break.
Secure, the true solution for your digital privacy and security. Secure is a private and secure messaging and email solution hosted in Switzerland, using military-grade encryption and Swiss privacy laws, giving you true privacy. Secure is 100% private and does not collect or sell any of your personal data. Secure's Helix technology connects you securely to our Swiss servers without the need of a VPN, guaranteeing privacy and security for all your communications. Secure Messenger doesn't require your phone number or any personal data that hackers target. Chat by Invites allows you to chat privately and securely with anyone outside of your secure network without the need for others to download Secure. Secure Send offers you a private and secure way to email anyone outside of Secure. You won't find this level of privacy or security on any other email or instant messaging application. Visit secure.com. Regain and protect your privacy today.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm going to pass the savings directly on to you. Go to MyPillow.com right now to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. For example, you can get my premium MyPillows, regularly $69.98, now just $29.98, the lowest price ever.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Welcome back. This will be the first major award show to move exclusively online. The 2022 Academy of Country Music Awards will stream live on Amazon's Prime Video, according to organizers. It's the longest-running honors in country music and has been broadcast live on CBS. Amazon has been buying rights to live events, including the NFL's Thursday Night Football, to draw more viewers to Prime Video. Audiences for live events, including the Oscars, Emmys, and Olympics, have been declining on traditional television as streaming has exploded. The 2022 date and location for the Country Music Awards hasn't been announced yet. For the past 2 years, it's taken place in venues around Nashville. Before that, its home was Las Vegas. And Major League Baseball is ending its 70-year deal with trading card company Topps. The league will instead use sports apparel company Fanatics to produce baseball cards. The MLB renewed its deal with Topps in 2018, so Fanatics will take over when the current deal ends in 2025. The MLB receives royalties and Topps sales for using its intellectual property. In April, Topps announced it would go public. Without baseball, Topps will still produce cards for the National Hockey League and Major League Soccer. Earlier this month, Fanatics secured $325 million in funding. The company is now valued at $18 billion. The MLB already owns Fanatics equity, and Fanatics owns all of the MLB's online sales rights. And this year in the UK, turkeys, toys, even Christmas trees may be more expensive. Shoppers are preparing for Christmas and will see higher prices and fewer choices. Retailers say it's due to disruptions caused by the pandemic. Here's NTD's Colin Fredrickson with more.
With months still to go before the holiday season, traders in the UK warn that this year, people might not find what they're looking for at Christmas time. With companies restarting operations as virus restrictions ease, demand for shipping containers is rising, pushing up costs.
Christmas will be more costly this year, there is no doubt about that. It's going to affect food, it's going to get clothing, it's going to affect toys, everything you can mention. Christmas trees.
The price of transporting a container of Christmas goods from China is up 700% since last year. According to new data from the British Chambers of Commerce, more than 60% of retailers and wholesalers expect their prices to rise in the run-up to Christmas, and nearly 60% of manufacturers expect price increases.
70% of our members were having trouble recruiting the right people. So not only an increase in wages, but an increase in shipping costs are putting quite a lot of pressure on our members.
Around 9 million turkeys are reared annually in the UK for Christmas. But this year, farmers are warning that staff shortages will decrease production by an estimated 20%. That's as the country sees fewer EU workers.
This Christmas, there will not be the amount of British turkeys in the retailers because they're physically not going to be there, because companies, the turkey farmers, have made the decision they're not going to be able to pluck them and process them.
One toy retailer says it might also have supply issues. That's because many popular toys, like interactive pets, need microchips, a critical electronic component that's in short supply around the globe.
And it's not Santa's sleigh, but a luxury airship will get you to the North Pole and back for a pretty penny. A startup firm called Ocean Sky Cruises is offering luxury air cruises on an airship. Those are steerable balloons used in the early 1900s, like the Hindenburg and the Zeppelin. The luxury airship includes hotel-like cabins and modern technology. 16 passengers can fly to the North Pole and have a picnic on the ice cap. Sounds cool. The trip costs nearly $233,000 for a two-person cabin. Reservations are not open, and Ocean Sky hopes to kick off its first expedition in 2023 or 2024. And the Museum of Ice Cream opened its first international outlet in Singapore yesterday, providing a sweet break for residents as the country eased some virus restrictions. NTD's Leo Lee takes us there.
Step inside the Museum of Ice Cream in Singapore. Guests can enjoy free-flowing ice cream and interactive exhibits spread across the 60,000 square feet facility.
When you come into the Museum of Ice Cream, there are many things that you can do besides eating ice cream and exploring our exhibits. I think that it also helps, the creative side of your brain, helps you forget about things. So I definitely do think that it's something that is beneficial, allows you to take a break from things that are happening outside, and it's definitely good for your mental health as well.
Visitors need to book a time in advance to ensure social distancing requirements are met in the museum.
It's great to get out and have exhibitions going on now in Singapore where we can come and enjoy ourselves and have fun like this in a day. Actually, even the bouncy castle, we had a lot of fun in the bouncy castle. We were wearing our masks, but yeah, bouncing off the calories we're using with the ice cream.
Tickets cost around $28. The Museum of Ice Cream has a permanent location in New York, and it's been popular with influencers and A-list celebrities. It's opening another location this Saturday and planning to expand to more international locations soon. Leo Lee, NTD News.
Pretty sweet. As the latest business updates for this week, you can still catch NTD Evening News with Stephanie Cox. That's at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. For NTD Business, that's all for this week. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you tomorrow.
We have a new channel. Subscribe to us on YouTube at NTD News. Get the highlights of our news broadcast and the most important headlines that we curate especially for you.
Don't let YouTube decide what information you get. That's your choice. YouTube is deleting our videos and cuts you off from a source of honest reporting. Make sure you don't lose access to NTD's news content, and take a quick moment to subscribe to our newsletter so no matter what happens here, you'll keep your access to a trustworthy news source.